Welcome to CMV Productions Presents.
The goal of this podcast is for those of you who have businesses or those of you who are thinking of going into business to get insight into what other business owners are doing. So hopefully you'll learn from the process. You can apply what we've gone over to your business, and hopefully that will help you in growing your business, which will help us all. And we hope that you enjoy it. We hope that you subscribe, and we look forward to learning together. This is our learning session, right? So we're going to try to understand a couple things here from a business perspective. Today, we're going to talk about what I think is really important for any business owner is when you're starting your business, what does the end look like? And a lot of business owners don't understand that. They go in and they're very excited about starting, but they really don't know where the end is. Like, what is the exit strategy for the business? So, just to open it up, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on that? What do you see?
I think it's hard only because when you're starting a new business, number one, you're trying to figure out what is it that I don't know?
Right.
What am I going to need? Do I need to hire people?
Right.
How am I going to keep track of accounting, my sales? How am I going to market? I think when you start talking about the end or the exit strategy in mind, it's extremely difficult because that's probably like not even on my top 10.
Right.
It's like not even on my top 10.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's like a book, right? There should be a beginning, a middle, and an end.
That's right.
And so whenever, even for a presentation, whenever you're having that discussion, you want to make sure that you have the end in mind. And so the question then becomes, well, how do I even put that into my thought process? Because I'm just worrying about getting started.
Yeah.
But I think it is important. So I guess the question, let me ask you, Cecil, let me turn that back to you and say, when you started your business, did that even cross your mind?
Oh, yeah. It was one of the first things because, but here's the thing. I knew to have that in mind because I didn't do it for a prior business.
Got it. So you learned.
I learned the lesson.
It was a lesson learned.
The lesson was, and for me is in starting CNH Insurance, understanding where I want it to be at the end of it. Like, where do I want to be? Because, we've had this discussion about people being very good at what they do, right?
Right.
But that is not, being good at what you do is not all of this, right? Because we look at the world now, you've got people out there that are worth billions of dollars and they don't even know what they're doing in their own product, with their own products, right? But they're worth billions, right? They started something. They're not part of the organization now. They're just taking a cut and they're moving on, right?
Yep.
They may have initiated it, but their main goal was being business owners to grow a business that they can step away from.
Yeah. And I think it's important because you just said it, scaling. In order for you to scale, you need to have an end in mind, even if it's just saying, hey, I don't have an end for the ultimate business, but I have an end for this specific piece or phase of the business.
Right.
And the same also applies to people that may not have their own business, but even people who are just starting out in their career. It's important that you have an end in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you just started, you just graduated, you're starting a new job. It's also important to understand so what's my end goal here? I'm starting this new position, but what's my end goal? And then what is my next step, right? What is my exit strategy from this current position? And you should really be thinking about that the first day that you start.
Yeah.
I think that's something that most people overlook.
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is, to your point, is now you're in that position, you're there for a long time, and then you're wondering what went wrong.
Yeah, what went wrong?
What did I miss? Where did I go wrong? And it's like, if you had that beginning, middle, and end discussion with yourself, you would then understand, okay, when I get to this point, I am now moving into the next phase, right? I am now making that leap. So, and then you take that and you expand it into being a business owner. Yes, you must have an end in mind, because if not, right, I think we've seen it throughout history.
Yeah.
If you become stagnant, even as a big business, someone will take you. You will lose. Someone's going to take over, right? You've seen it with. Sorry to bring up our age here, but look at Blockbuster. Right?
Oh yeah.
Blockbuster was dominating the field. I mean, I remember going to Blockbuster all the time, and out of nowhere came a new strategy. Netflix came over and took them over.
But Netflix was, and we're not promoting anything, but they would probably say that we didn't cause the downfall of Blockbuster, right? And they were right. They didn't. The company and its inability to identify what was coming next, that was the downfall. But, when it comes back to business, I like what you said. It applies outside of business too. Like if you're just getting your first job and you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be in this position for the rest of my next 20 to 30 years at this company, then it's going to be kind of messed up if you start off as a entry level and you plan on being there 30 years. You need to understand, where you're going in that business, right? In that company, right? And so you can apply that theory to any part of life, right?
True.
It's like, where am I going to end? It's like, and I know somebody out there going to be kind of smart ass is going to be like, well, it ends with my death. Right? But that's not the point.
Yeah, no, it's, what's interesting. People always talk about certainties and they talk about death and taxes, right? Talk about death, right? Talk about death. But one thing that people don't talk about, change and evolution, is inevitable. Right. Like that happens matter what industry you're in. It will happen. And the minute that you ignore that, you will end up losing.
That's right.
You will lose. Technology changes, the industry changes, people change.
Yep.
Right. Our kids are not the same.
Right.
They're not
the same environment.
Every generation, every generation is different. What they like versus what we like, it changes. The world changes, and people need to come to that realization because, like, once you understand that, like, I need to be ready for that next step.
Right.
I can't just sit here and say, I got this on lock. I got this. I am an expert. No one can tell me otherwise. It's like, you're an expert now and you're very good at this now.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, right, next year, next 10 years, things will change.
Yeah.
It's just inevitable. It'll happen.
So that's a very good point. Cause then it comes down to, okay, if you plan out and you say, okay, this is what the end's going to be. And then it's going to be change. And how do I make sure I get to that end? Well, that's the point, right? The end helps you prepare for the change, right? So you're starting a business and you say, all right, I'm starting this company, and the way that I want it to end is that I'm going to have a president or CEO of this company that's going to run it. I'm going to put a board in place that may be this person, that person, the next person. And then, we have shares and we basically just have our representative that is controlled by the board, and we have, the directors or whatever underneath, right? Now, that's a fine strategy. Now, things may change from getting you to that point. So it may be like, instead of like a straight line, there may be some curves and downfall, pitfalls, and upticks in that whole process. But where the end result is going to be. Right. If you don't know where the end result's going to be, you're never going to get there. You're just going to be consistently going here, there, and the next place.
Yeah.
And it's important for a business owner, if they're doing whatever they're doing, but if they're definitely getting into something that they see as long lasting, that they have to understand how it's going to end.
So without giving too much away, what is your exit strategy?
It's kind of what I just mentioned, and I'll give it away. I'm open to telling people exactly what it is. The whole point is I looked at getting in a business as, first off, when I started my agency, my focus was, in any business I did, is that I have to find a way to help people, right? And it's not just because, I'm such a nice guy. It's like, truthfully, I do not sleep well if I cannot say that I'm doing something that can be helpful. I mean, like, we worked at a company together years ago, and I would wake up sometimes at night and be like, I got to get up and go to work the next morning and be like, I hate this freaking job. Right. And you don't want that. Why? It's because it added no value to anyone. Right. Even from a supervisor, people that were in charge and running things, and you're supervising other people. But at the end of the day, it's technology, and it may allow people to get rich, but it truly isn't helping anyone. Right. It's helping a multi-billion-dollar organization, but the fact that I'm actually doing something now from the insurance standpoint that, people may not see it as hope, but really from an insurance broker standpoint, I've saved people a lot, of money moving forward. I mean, You can't always save people everything, but reducing risk on their part, helping them get their business where it needs to be, but also protecting it. And if we can find a cost savings for them, then that may help them go on a little bit longer, right? But it is helping. So my exit strategy, my beginning phase was, what am I going to do that can help people, right? Then the end strategy for me is, by the time of this, build an organization where the people that are running it or that are part of it, my service staff, my president, my office staff, my producers, all have the same mindset. Our goal is to help. It is to help. Now build that structure, have our board, have our president, and focus on that mindset. That is our focus, and that is our growth. That's how we grow. We grow by bringing in companies that we can help, whether they be big or small, or provide them with the service that they need that's going to be helpful to move them forward.
Interesting. Now, with that messaging, with that mission, how do you avoid kind of the, I'll say, contradiction when it comes to, in order for you to stay afloat, you have to obviously make a profit. You have to make money.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing wrong with making money. It's like, it's not mutual, it's not exclusive.
You're evil,
right,
Cecil.
Right. Right. Like, that's they had that old movie, Greed is Good. No, greed sucks. You don't need to be greedy, but you do need to make money. If you're in business, you need to make money. And people associate making money with being bad.
Right.
No, there's nothing wrong with making money, especially if you're an entrepreneur trying to grow a business. Because if you get into business and you're not making money, you ain't going to be an entrepreneur for much longer.
Right.
Right. You're going to be working for somebody that's going to pay you money, and their goal is to make money. So, but helping people doesn't exclude you from making money, right? You can get in, be respectful, be honorable, and have a business and a service that actually provides people what they need and make a good living, right? So that kind of goes to understanding your value for the business owner, right? So what are you actually worth? Because if you go into a business and you say, let's say you make cupcakes, and the cupcakes are great, but you sell them for 5 cents a cupcake. It costs you 20 cents to make the cupcake. You're not making any money, right? So now you're just making cupcakes for your kids. You know what I'm saying? So make some cupcakes that help you make money so you can start getting these cupcakes out to as many people as possible so they can enjoy what you provide.
Right. So, what would your recommendation be for people that are looking to start a business? So what would you tell them? Here are the steps that you need to consider for your end goal or your exit strategy or the end state. Like this is how you finish it. This is what you should, this is the criteria that you should be setting.
Well, when you know how it is when the people start a business and funding, first thing they do is the bank tells them, get a business plan, right? And the business plan is good, but a business plan doesn't talk about your exit strategy. Right. So, but where a business plan is good is it makes you focus on how you're going to make money, right? Because that's what the bank cares about. How you're going to make money. So kind of use that thought process, even if you're not getting any loan. So I would say, first, understand what is your why for the business? Like, why are you actually doing it? 2, I'd think, okay, how am I going to sell the service or product that I have? And understanding that is key. Because if you cannot sell, you cannot make money, right? So why are you doing it? How do you sell? And when I say sell, I mean personally sell honorably, right? Because people think selling is a bad thing. No. You have a service, you have a product that you know is helpful to someone. There is nothing wrong with making a profit off. That is kind of your goal. And then 2, understanding where do you want it to end? You want this to end in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? Is this something that's going to go on for multiple generations? Is this something you're just planning on doing for the next 10 years? But whatever it is, how does it end for you? Right? And if you can put those 3 things together, your beginning, your middle, and end, then you're probably going to have, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it will be easier for you because you're starting to see now I'm hitting milestones in my growth versus I'm just going by the seat of my pants and seeing what works, right? So those are the things I would, tell a business owner that is now getting into it. And then find people that you know that are also like you, that are having the same problems, and just have those conversations, like this, like,
yep.
Like what we're trying to do. Cause what we're doing now is because, we don't have nobody to talk to. You look at other business owners, we're trying to get other business owners here, talk about it because, we know what we're going through. Right. And sometimes that junk could be really lonely. You don't have anybody to really conversate about the issues with.
Yeah. You're touching on a lot of topics that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, you can try to do it by yourself, but it will be a longer path instead of saying, hey, let me learn from others. I mean, you're not the first. You won't be the last.
Be the last. Yeah.
Right? And so there are a ton of resources. There's networking, mentoring. You mentioned all these things, right, that we're eventually going to talk about. But it's important that you go out there and understand that you're not alone. Yeah. Right? That there are communities, there's events, there's people. Yeah. Everyone's willing to help. You just got to go out there and ask for it. Go find it. Go find the right people. Go find the right resources, and help yourself out. Because there's no need to try to be a hero and figure all this stuff out by yourself. I mean, you probably can, but it's going to take you a lot longer than reaching out to people that have already experienced it and can guide you and mentor you, give you tips.
Yeah. People, it sounds good to say, like, I started this business on my own and I made it into something by
from
myself.
The ground up. I did it myself.
That does not happen. That's not a realistic thing.
Yeah.
I don't care what businesses it is. And if there's somebody that tells you that they did it all on their own, they're lying to you. Yep. And if they're not lying to you, they had a trust fund, one or the other, right? Because there's no way you're going to do it on your own. You're going to have to get to know people. You're going to have to get out there and talk, learn, listen, and that's going to help you grow and get where you want to be. But knowing where you want to end, knowing where you're starting, and, that'll help everything that comes in the middle. That's right. So what, from your perspective though, what do you see, like some of the from the business perspective, like huge companies, what do you see their issues? I mean, you must see it all the time. Like you look at it and be like, that could be done a lot better.
I mean, there's always opportunity for improvement. I think it depends on, there's so many variables, Cecil, right? Because it depends on the scale.
Right.
How big is the company? How small? Are you running lean?
Right.
Are you so big that it takes an act of Congress, as they say, to make things happen? There's so many variables that it's hard to say, hey, this is something that I seek consistently across the board. Because I've worked with small, like you said, we've worked for large organizations. I work for small mom and pop shops. And so the issues and challenges vary depending on obviously management, the scale.
Right.
But to your point, I think it's very important that as long as your leadership is thinking several steps ahead,
right, and
strategizing, it's the same concept, right? It's like we need to be thinking about the future and the end goal, right? Because then we can figure out what the next steps are going to be.
Right.
Because without that, you're kind of just going through the motions and you don't necessarily become more efficient. You don't figure out the challenges, the issues, the gaps. And so I think it just depends on your leadership, but it's also important as I'll say individual contributor,
right?
If you want to add value and have an impact, that you speak up. And I it's a lot easier said than done. I get that piece of it, but if you have ideas, if you think that there are opportunities for improvement, it is your responsibility to speak up and say, hey, I think this could be done better. They can always tell you, you're crazy, get out of here, right?
Right.
But if you don't speak up, right, then you're not showing interest. You're not showing that you're motivated. You're not showing that, hey, I can add value here.
Right. Yeah.
I can help the organization if you give me an opportunity. So I think it's important that people consider that when, instead of complaining and saying, this sucks, right? This place sucks, or this doesn't work, or we can all say that. Yeah. But what solutions are you bringing to the table? Right? Yeah. And then what are you doing to act on those solutions? Because it's all about, yes, you add value by bringing solutions, but also implementing, executing, making sure that you actually deliver. So again, it's I think it varies depending on so many factors that it's hard for me to give you one single answer.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. But no, I think moving forward, right, having these discussions, and as we bring on more people, you and I are going to learn a great deal.
Well, that's one of the biggest things with this. We want to try to learn.
Yes.
Right. It's not like we're not coming on here saying like we know everything, right? Because we don't. That's the whole point. Bringing on guests, getting their input, getting their insight, and learning from the people that are listening to us, people that are, people that are here, that are actually watching us.
Yes.
Bringing those comments, let us know what your thought process. Ask, put a question out to us and to our guests, so we can get that question answered.
Yes.
That's the whole point of this whole thing. It's a learning process. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, it should be thinking, what am I going to pick up from this? How can this help my business? That's maybe hopefully it's something they didn't think about before, and it could lead them down a direction, because it's all about trying to be successful. Right. And I do say trying, because being successful is not easy. It's not like you're just going to say, I started a business, it's automatic success.
Right.
You started a business. That's the first thing.
And going back to the point about finding the right resources, we want to build a community where people can ask and help each other. Right? Ask questions. Like you said, put comments into our comment section. We will do our best to either get you the answer or maybe put you in contact with the right people. You never know. But we definitely want to build a community where people are helping each other. Let's add value to our network, to our community. And that way, hopefully, we can all grow together. I think that would be something that Cecil and I would really appreciate, something that would make us happy. Because again, I am on board with his vision as far as just helping people, wanting to, I just want to contribute, man. Whatever I can do to help, I'm here. Let's try to make this. I'm all about trying to make everything better.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing, man, because there's a lot of business, especially nowadays, struggle.
Yep.
And I personally understand not having someone, like my wife is, I always do stuff off her, but being in a community of individuals that are going through the business, having a similar struggles, always trying to look out for how can we move forward, having those conversations, it helps. It helps to be able to see that other people are going through it, and you might be able to throw some questions here and there. And that's, we'll talk about this in future episodes, like mentorship. Just kind of what that is. This is the time, if you don't know anybody in your business, or just want to have general ideas and thoughts, and that's what this is all about. Learning. Hopefully we can learn and we can grow, these businesses that are listening, regardless of their size, and make it, get these business owners where they want to be. And we get to where we want to be.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was a great discussion, man.
It was.
Good at it.
Successful.
And more to come.